artiste.
In italics.
I didn't say in italics, sorry. Do you have any, if you think there's an artist who could benefit from learning to code or whatever, and they're resistant against it, is there some way, is there good techniques for convincing them, or you talk about bringing them things on slowly, but also that they have to want to learn well?
So the idea of wanting to learn is usually comes about with the notion of you see something that you want to emulate. So you see something really cool, and you go, how the hell do I do that? And then when you find out that you can't paint it in Photoshop, or you can't model it out of a cube in insert Autodesk product, then once you realise that you can do something creative and visual and interesting in programming, and it's not particularly threatening, then it kind of, it does prompt people to kind of learn, particularly with that really fast feedback where you don't have to really stuff around to get some sort of stuff. So I hit a bit of a problem when I was teaching it this year. I did have, started with 20 students. I've ended with kind of 5 students that think it's awesome and want to become tech artists and they want to learn how to code and they think it's great. I got about 10 students that go, thank God that's over. And then I've got about maybe 3 or 4 students, I know the math doesn't add up, but I've got about 3 or 4 students that actually found it incredibly difficult and really hated it. And thankfully it was a foundation year subject and they had to do it. That helps too. But at the same time, people who, you don't necessarily, I've never really singled anyone out as saying, you should learn how to code. It's more along the lines of if you've got a particularly technical artists that don't code, you get quite a lot of that, where you've got package specialists that are just really good at knowing how to fix everything. Those guys and girls can really benefit from knowing kind of how things work. So they're the people that you target kind of first, really. Hang on, the gentleman in the white shirt.
One of the concerns that I can see people bringing up is that if the artists are making the tools, that they won't be at the same level of quality as the programmers are making it. So
oh no,
there might be a better quality. They do precisely what the artist wants them to do, and it doesn't, it's their own fault.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, in the end, you're actually coming at it from an artist perspective means that you're making a tool that solves your own problem. Whereas if you come at it from a programming perspective, you're fulfilling the specification that someone's laid down for you, without knowing the range of issues that artists hit when dealing with 3D software and other stuff. So, and the other thing is that, you speak artist really, so you kind of speak the same language. So it's very, very easy to go, we need to make this, we need to make a collision sort of bounding box thing, but it's not square. It's kind of we want a turny thing. That all makes perfect sense. But yeah, I do guarantee the first time that you do it, the first bunch of tools you write, they're probably going to be a bit average. But that's the whole notion of continual iteration and continual upgrading based on feedback.
You can start really small too. I mean, programmers can do sort of pipeline stuff, but it's just little productivity tools for your artists to get them comfortable and just ways to automate stuff that's normally mundane and repetitive. Just grow from there.
Copying TGAs, that's the shittiest thing in the world. Missing textures. Yeah, you need basically the fundamental point of the whole thing is to get people more productive and get everything, make people's lives a bit easier and a bit happier. Things kind of work out when you do that. Anyone else? No? Yeah.
So how much coding should they actually learn though? Is it just keeping it as simple as possible so they are just working on simple tools? Or should you push it to the next level and sort of get them involved in further things?
My suggestion would be you just let it grow, because the first taste you get, and if you're into it, you're going to want to know more and more and more, and you're going to want to make the work that you do better. And you're only going to be able to do that by basically learning more about object-oriented code, writing in classes, getting in setting methods, dealing with external libraries, that kind of thing, and all of that stuff. For God's sake, never tell anyone about that when they're starting. They will crap themselves. So start with a function. That's always good. So,
Can I add that I would also think that the artist was wanting to do. So some, like you said, package specialists, that would be good for them to have a base understanding of how everything works, whereas
Exactly.
they might, some other technical artists might be writing shader language, in which case they're going to have to go through and learn
That's
C++
right.
too.
Yeah. It really is a case. I mean, there's no right answer and there's no exact way to do it because there's so many varied languages throughout the games industry and there's so many different things that all the different companies are doing that it's really a case of getting used to the concept of coding and the things that you have to do. That's almost why when I teach it, I teach nothing. Really, I don't think you can really use processing in a production environment except as like a helper app for stuff. I use it for visualizing like memory management tools and stuff like that, but you know, probably wouldn't put it on the box or anything. Oh, I've also got numerous examples for the viewers at home. More than happy to send this through. We've got processing itself is actually a fairly large community of people. It is an open source project, and it's being made by people like you and me who want to contribute. And consequently, it's got a number of people that are kind of at the forefront of what they do. The two guys at the top wrote it. That guy down there, Robert Hodgin, if anyone has the latest version of iTunes and they run the iTunes visualizer, you've got this like funky magnet thing that kind of like, you know, little galaxy spinning around. He wrote that in processing and then they ported it to C to get it up and running. So it's quite useful. And then a couple of really useful projects that are quite fun. Radiohead's latest film clip for House of Cards. You can download, the whole thing was done in processing and you can download the entire thing for free and the whole data set for how they made it, which was great. And then you got the White Glove tracking project, which is hilarious, and then 1,000 cents, or 10,000 cents. So things to check out. It's pretty cool. Yeah, even though it's not really the end, I just put that there. That's how you can get to me. I have a bucket of cards. Please use the bucket of cards. I need to go. Any more questions? Anyone? Go on, Bob. Okay.
Okay, I'm home.
All right.
How do you like an exercise?
Actually, I love exercise. At first I hated it, I really hated it because I was kind of forced to swap from Max to exercise. But then the help is shit. Very sorry to say the help is abysmal. But once you get a handle on the object model in exercise, do anything you want. It's great. Yeah. Tell it to the two people that use it. And that's it from me.
Awesome.